know we need infrastructure, more infrastructure, especially the health sector, which I'll come to later. How do you intend to clear that debt and also implement key infrastructure projects?
If for any reason right now they call you to come and contribute money to support P2B's campaign and you are having double mind, because I know when they talk about whether you vote him or not, is whether you are even ready to put your money in. If you are having double mind, watch this video.
We know we need infrastructure, more infrastructure, especially the health sector, which I'll come to later. How do you intend to clear that debt and also implement key infrastructure projects that we can't do without?
You can't reduce the debt. The reason why we got to the stage where we're using 98% to service debt is that the debt you borrowed was not productive. You didn't put it into productive assets.
Indeed.
So it was consumed. So when you borrow money and consume it, your debt increases, your servicing of the debt increases. But if you put it into production, your value increases. And I've given these examples everywhere with several countries. We're not the only country who is borrowing. There's nothing wrong with borrowing. I say it morning, afternoon, night. It's what you borrow with the federal funds that is different. I give you an example. People say I've used Bangladesh, so let me use Japan.
Okay.
Japan is owing 230% of their GDP. But per capita in Japan is still about $48,000. Because one, the money they borrowed was meant to help build a better economy. It was properly invested. It was to save the country from collapsing. And most of the monies that were domestic investors. And Japan is still the highest holder of US treasuries. Singapore will cite every day. People don't even know. Singapore owns more than 100% of its GDP in debt. But do you know why Singapore's debt is not affecting the per capita of Singapore? Because they have a law which says for every money you borrowed, it must be for investment in the future. But here we borrow it and we consume it. So we're not looking when the person of the money comes, because we have no money to pay, is affecting our earnings. So what we need to do as a country is to first change that borrowing pattern.
Right.
And make sure that our borrowings are for investment.
What about accountability? One of the things that Nigerians complain about is accountability for government officials.
It's a simple thing. That's what I'm saying. If you're doing the right thing, you wouldn't even, if you have budgets, because you have a budget.
But it's, I don't think it's as simple as just doing the right thing. How do we hold government officials accountable?
It's very simple. It is for the people to be bold enough to say, you're wrong. I told you, I paid off 33 billion in gratuity, pension and everything. How did it happen? I go to morning mass every morning. Every morning I go to morning mass as a governor, because you need prayers. So I was in this church, St. Matthew Church in Amobia. An elderly woman, Mrs. Cindy Bay, who was 80 years old, walked up to me, took my Bible, took everything, and asked me to leave the church.
Wow.
And the people were protesting. And the people were begging her. And I said, leave, Mama, let me see what is happening. He said I should leave the church because God will never listen to my prayers. As long as she's being owed her gratuity, that she retired nearly 20 years ago, and she has not received her money. I left the church and said, Mama, I'm coming to visit you in the evening. He said, don't come to my house. Go and pay my gratuity. I went to her house in the evening, even when she didn't invite me. When I listened to her story and stories of others, I went back to that church and promised myself, I'm going to clear this debt. And 8 years after, I paid 33 billion naira.
Excellent. But the thing is, you see, nobody, somewhere along the line, somebody dropped the ball on that. And nobody goes to jail. Nobody gets punished.
When I talk about accountability, it is for the people.
Right.
This is the only country where you vote Peter Obi in. They know he did not have a house when they voted him. They know he did not have certain cars. They know his children were not driving certain cars. They know everything. Then suddenly Mr. Peter Obi builds the best house in his village within 6 months, buys all the choice cars, and invite them for Thanksgiving. And even the church and everybody celebrating somebody they know where the money came from instead of calling police. Issue of cabal.
Okay, the cabal, yes.
There's nothing called cabal. Unless you decide to create one.
Right.
Quote me anywhere. I've governed in Anambra State. There was no issue of cabal. Unless you choose to create one.
Unless you choose to create.
You are the one who is going to create it. And then suddenly turn around and say there's cabal. On issue of restructuring, is a critical component of development.
Yeah.
Restructuring is critical. But you know, even those who will be the greatest beneficiary of restructuring thinks it's anything. There's nothing in restructuring. It's just to make the whole place to develop. That's why I always say that restructuring is like fixing the engine of the vehicle
But
to make it work. People think it's about division. No, it's not about division. There are things, for example, if you talk about state police or this thing which are part of restructuring, we're the only country that I know that is as big as we are with one just central police. There's nothing wrong. It's a security measure. I used to be in University of Nigeria Nsukka when we have campus police. There's nothing security. Security is something you drive down the process. So these are things that we're going to go. Education, for example, we used to have almost a competition when there was ABU, there was Unilag, there was Ebado, there was Nsukka. So these are things that comes with structuring. There's nothing wrong in it. It should be encouraged.
But
not the way.
What most will say to you is we have the current constitution we have is not actually the constitution of the people, and some would even suggest to you that should we be having a referendum, and can you
all those things will happen, but not the way politicians are driving. They will have to happen in a sense where even those who have fears, you know, when it comes to issue of restructuring, politics is about dialogue, consultation, meetings. It's not going to be where you throw things on people. You just have to, make people have a sense of belonging. Today, people are scared maybe, oh, we'll lose getting the revenue we're getting from oil. The reality is that, look at a state like America. The biggest and richest state is not Texas that has the oil. It is actually California that has the agriculture. So you might even say that when you restructure, Niger State will be the highest place where people will go to. It is states that have ID.
Body, any of your friend anywhere for this, anywhere around the world where you know, when they obedient, whenever begin they support P2B, or whenever they convinced about P2B mandate, I beg, help me tag and come for this video. Help me tag and come for this video. Everybody that is a Nigerian need to see this video. Anybody whenever they convince need to see this video. Share this video to any group, to anywhere you know. Share this video. Everybody must see this video. This is one of the best video from Peter Obi's interview so far since this campaign. Let me share them.